Welcome to the world of science fiction, where extraordinary tales come to life. Enjoy the journey. Arthur Jade stared at the energy drink in his hand, wondering if the neon green liquid had somehow gone bad and was making him hallucinate. Because there was no way, absolutely no way, he was actually watching a 7-foot-tall purple woman wielding what looked like a laser sword while facing off against something that belonged in a nightmare. And now, witness the sacred combat. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena, making Arthur wince. His hangover from last night's space cruise party wasn't helping. "Hey, buddy, you're blocking the view," someone behind him grumbled. Arthur shuffled to the side, still trying to process how his dream vacation galaxy tour had landed him in what looked like a gladiatorial arena on this backwater planet called Drax 4. The purple warrior woman, Maya Tempest, according to the holographic display floating above the arena, moved with lethal grace. Her silver hair caught the light of the planet's twin suns, creating an almost ethereal effect. The ceremonial armor she wore left little to the imagination, highlighting curves that would have been stunning on any species. For 3,000 cycles, the warriors of Drax 4 have proven their worth through combat, the announcer continued. Today, Maya of the Silver Blade clan faces the challenge of selection. Arthur took another sip of his drink, muttering under his breath. Sure, because nothing says weekend getaway like watching alien gladiator matches. The creature Maya faced was something out of a genetic engineer's worst acid trip, a chimeric nightmare of scales, claws, and far too many teeth. Its roar shook the stadium. "That's a Grade 7 Genesis beast," someone whispered reverently. "They specifically engineered it for the ceremony. No one's ever defeated one alone." "Great," Arthur rolled his eyes, because regular monsters weren't dramatic enough. The combat began with explosive force. Maya moved like lightning, her blade creating arcs of energy as she dodged the creature's attacks. But even Arthur, who knew nothing about alien combat, could see she was struggling. The beast was too fast, too strong, and seemed to be anticipating her moves. "The Genesis beast has been programmed with combat data from 1,000 warriors," someone explained, noticing Arthur's focused expression. "It learns and adapts to any fighting style." "That's cheating," Arthur muttered, his IT brain kicking in. "If it's using an algorithm to predict movements, there should be a pattern to exploit." He watched as Maya barely avoided another strike, rolling across the arena floor. The beast's tail whipped around, catching her off guard. Her sword went flying, landing with a clatter near the arena wall. The crowd gasped. Maya backed away, her violet skin glistening with sweat, determination still fierce in her expression despite being disarmed. Arthur's hand clenched around his energy drink can. The beast was moving in a distinct pattern. 3 strikes, pause, recalculate, repeat. Classic loop structure. If someone could just disrupt its rhythm. "Oh, for crying out loud," he growled, frustrated by the obvious flaw in the beast's programming. Without thinking, he crushed the empty can and threw it, aiming for the recycling unit he'd spotted earlier. What happened next would be debated in galactic tabloids for years to come. The can missed the recycling unit completely. Arthur blamed the alien gravity. Bounced off a decorative pillar, ricocheted off the arena wall, and struck the Genesis beast directly in its neural control node, a small pulsing spot at the base of its skull that no one had mentioned was its weakness. The beast froze mid-attack, its eyes flickering like a crashing computer, then collapsed with all the grace of a blue-screening desktop. The stadium went deadly silent. Arthur, still holding his arm out from the throw, slowly lowered it. My bad." The silence shattered as the crowd erupted in chaotic celebration. Voices thundered in various alien languages, most of which Arthur's universal translator couldn't keep up with. The only clear phrase that kept repeating was, "The champion has risen." Maya stood frozen, her violet eyes locked on Arthur with an intensity that made him want to check if his shirt was on backward. She moved toward him with predatory grace, each step deliberate and focused. "You," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that the translator couldn't quite capture. "You have claimed victory in the sacred combat." Arthur raised his hands defensively. "Look, I was just trying to recycle. I'm big on environmental responsibility, even on alien planets." "The manner of victory is irrelevant," she interrupted, closing the distance between them. Up close, she was even more striking, nearly a foot taller than him, with features that somehow combined otherworldly beauty with warrior fierceness. "You defeated the Genesis beast. By the ancient laws of Drax 4, you have proven yourself worthy." "Worthy of what exactly?" Arthur's voice cracked slightly. "In his defense, having a gorgeous alien Amazon staring at you like you were both dessert and a puzzle to solve would make anyone nervous." An older woman with elaborate silver markings on her purple skin stepped forward. "I am High Matriarch Zanara of the Silverblade clan. Young man, do you understand what you have done? Apparently violated some recycling protocols?" Arthur tried for a joke. Nobody laughed. "You have participated in the Sacred Selection combat," Zanara announced, her voice carrying across the now hushed arena. "By defeating the Genesis beast, you have proven yourself the worthiest mate for Maya Tempest, heir to the Silverblade clan." Arthur's brain took a moment to process that. "I'm sorry, mate?" "Among our people, marriage is sacred and eternal," Maya explained, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Once chosen, pairs are bound for life. It is our way." "Hold on," Arthur backed up a step. "I didn't sign up for any eternal anything. I won this trip in a lottery. I'm supposed to be on a relaxing tour of the galaxy, not getting alien married." A murmur of disapproval rippled through the crowd. Zanara's expression darkened. "You would refuse the honor of joining the Silverblade clan?" "It's not about honor," Arthur protested. "It's about the fact that 5 minutes ago I was watching a fight, and now I'm apparently engaged. There has to be some kind of appeals process, or to refuse the selection would be a grave insult," another clan elder cut in. "Such an action could be seen as a rejection of our most sacred traditions. The last time someone refused a selection, it triggered the 100-Year War." Arthur's mouth went dry. "The what now?" Maya stepped closer, her height forcing him to look up at her. There was amusement in her eyes, but also something else. Curiosity, perhaps. "You fought with cunning rather than strength," she observed, using the beast's own programming against it. "Interesting." "I didn't fight anything. I threw trash." The absurdity of the situation was starting to make Arthur's head spin. "Look, I'm an IT guy from Seattle. The most combat I've seen is trying to get the last everything bagel at Starbucks. Yet you defeated a weapon that our strongest warriors could not," Maya countered. She reached out, running a finger along his jaw in a way that sent shivers down his spine. "Perhaps the gods have chosen more wisely than we know." The crowd had started chanting something that Arthur's translator rendered as "Union, Union." The arena's holo displays were now showing his face alongside Maya's, with elaborate decorative patterns swirling around them. "This is insane," Arthur muttered. "I need to contact the tour company. There has to be some kind of intergalactic consumer protection." "The ceremony will begin at moonrise," Zanara announced. "The chosen pair will be prepared according to tradition." "Ceremony?" Arthur squeaked. "What ceremony?" Maya's smile widened, showing teeth that were just a bit sharper than human standard. "Our binding ceremony, of course. Don't worry, chosen one. I'll ensure you survive the ritual combat portion." "The what portion?" But before he could protest further, He was swept up in a wave of celebrating Draxians, all congratulating him on his glorious victory and blessed union. Maya watched with obvious amusement as he was carried away toward what someone called the preparation chambers. The last thing he heard before being whisked into the building was Maya's voice, carried on the wind. "This will be interesting." Inside the preparation chambers, Arthur found himself surrounded by a flurry of purple-skinned attendants. They whisked away his tourist clothes, including his prized "I Love Earth" t-shirt, and began fitting him with what looked like ceremonial armor. "Can someone please explain what's happening?" he pleaded, as they attached gleaming plates to his shoulders, preferably without using the words eternal or combat. An elderly attendant with intricate silver tattoos covering her arms stepped forward. "I am Nara, keeper of traditions. You have been chosen as Maya's life mate through sacred combat. This is a great honor." "About that," Arthur tried to turn to face her, but was held in place as they continued fitting armor. "What if I don't want to be chosen? No offense to Maya, she's gorgeous and probably great at whatever warrior princesses do. But I have a life back on Earth, a job, a cat." Nara's expression grew serious. "The selection is binding. To refuse would dishonor not only Maya, but the entire Silverblade clan. It would force them to either accept shame or declare blood vengeance." "Blood vengeance?" Arthur's voice hit a new octave. That's not still a thing in spacefaring societies, right?" "The last blood vengeance resulted in 3 moons being destroyed." "Ah." Arthur swallowed hard. "So that's why this planet only has 2 moons now?" A younger attendant snickered but was silenced by Nara's stern look. "Listen," Arthur tried again. "I'm sure Maya could find someone much better suited. Someone who actually knows how to fight, who understands your customs, who isn't having a panic attack while being dressed like a space gladiator." "The gods have chosen through combat," Nara stated firmly. "Your victory, unconventional as it was, proves you are worthy. I threw a can. It was literal garbage. Yet you saw the weakness no warrior could spot. You defeated a beast engineered to be unbeatable." Nara's eyes narrowed. "Unless you suggest our sacred combat trials are garbage?" The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Arthur quickly backpedaled. "No, no, very sacred, extremely sacred. Love the sacredness." The chamber doors swung open and Maya strode in. She changed into more formal armor, silver and black, with glowing purple accents that matched her skin. Arthur's breath caught. She was stunning in a way that defied both human and alien standards of beauty. "Leave us," she commanded. The attendants bowed and quickly departed, leaving Arthur alone with his fiancé, owner, potential executioner. Maya circled him slowly, examining the ceremonial armor. "It suits you, despite your size." "Thanks, I think." Arthur tried to follow her movement but got tangled in the armor's shoulder pieces. "Look, about this whole situation. You're afraid," she stated matter-of-factly. "Terrified, actually." To his surprise, she laughed, a rich, melodic sound. "Good. Fear shows wisdom." She stopped in front of him, towering over him with those piercing violet eyes. "Do you know why we choose mates through combat?" "Because dating apps haven't reached this sector yet." Another laugh. "Because strength alone is not enough. We need partners who can think differently, who can see solutions where we see only the path of direct confrontation." She reached out, touching the armor over his heart. "You did what no warrior could. You saw past the obvious." "I got lucky," Arthur protested weakly, trying to ignore how his pulse quickened at her touch. "Luck?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "You analyzed the beast's pattern. I saw your face during the combat. You recognized its programming structure." Arthur blinked. You were watching me during the fight?" "I always observe the crowd during selection combat. But you..." She tilted her head. You were different. Not cheering, not betting, analyzing, like a tactician. I'm an IT specialist. Pattern recognition is kind of my thing. But that doesn't mean... The chamber doors burst open again. A younger warrior rushed in, breathing heavily. My lady, the Genesis beast, it's gone. Maya's expression hardened instantly. Explain. After the combat, when they went to dispose of it, someone had already taken it, and the neural control patterns, they've been copied. Arthur noticed Maya's hand move subtly toward her weapon. The beast was designed to be unkillable, she said quietly. Only its neural shutdown could stop it, and now someone knows how. Which means they could make more, Arthur realized. And they'd know the weakness too, so they could patch that vulnerability. Maya looked at him sharply. You understand the implications quickly. Like I said, it's specialist. Security vulnerabilities are kind of a hot topic. He ran a hand through his hair, forgetting about the armor and clanking himself in the head. Ow! The ceremony must be postponed, the young warrior announced. With this security breach... No, Maya cut him off. That would show weakness. We proceed as planned. She turned to Arthur. Unless my chosen mate objects. Arthur looked between them, his mind racing. Part of him, the sane part, was screaming to use this as an excuse to get out of this crazy situation. But another part... If someone's stealing combat programs and genetic templates, that's basically high-tech weapon theft, right? He found himself saying. Which means they'll leave traces, server access logs, data trails. Maya's eyes lit up with something that looked dangerously like approval. You believe you could track these thieves? Maybe. I mean, alien tech is different, but code is code. And if they're running multiple instances of that beast program, the power requirements alone would... He stopped, realizing what he was saying. Not that it's my problem, because I'm not actually staying, remember? Maya's smile turned predatory. Of course not. You're just offering technical insights on a security breach that threatens my clan, as any honored guest would. Right. Exactly. Just being helpful. Nothing to do with marriage or combat or... Why are you looking at me like that? Because... Maya stepped closer, her armor clicking softly against his. You're already thinking like a warrior of the Silver Blade clan, whether you admit it or not. Before Arthur could protest, the ceremonial horns began to sound outside. Maya stepped back, looking entirely too pleased with herself. Come, my chosen one. We have a binding ceremony to attend, and then perhaps a mystery to solve. As she led him from the chamber, Arthur couldn't shake the feeling that he'd somehow just agreed to something far more complicated than marriage. The worst part? He wasn't entirely sure he minded. One question, he said as they approached the ceremonial arena. This binding ceremony, exactly how much combat is involved? Maya's only response was another laugh that somehow managed to be both thrilling and terrifying. The binding ceremony turned out to be less combat-heavy than Arthur feared, though the ritual blood sampling made him queasy. Now, 3 days later, he found himself in what passed for a tech center on Drax 4, surrounded by holographic displays showing security logs. Your mate seems quite focused, observed Kira, a purple-skinned tech specialist whose silver facial markings identified her as part of the technology clan. She spoke the word mate with barely concealed amusement. Arthur rubbed his temples, trying to decipher the alien code scrolling past. He's not technically, yes, but... He sighed. It's complicated. Most things worth having are, Kira replied, bringing up another display. These are the power consumption logs from the night of the selection combat. See anything unusual? Arthur leaned forward, grateful for the change of subject. There's a spike here, about an hour after the ceremony was supposed to end. Way too much power for standard cleanup procedures. Enough power to transport a Genesis beast. Enough power to transport 3 of them. Arthur frowned. But the readings are strange. It's like they were trying to... The door slid open with a hiss, and Maya strode in. Arthur's heart definitely didn't skip a beat at the sight of her in full battle gear. Definitely not. "Report," she commanded, moving to stand behind Arthur, close enough that he could feel her warmth. "Someone's definitely copying your monster," Arthur said, forcing himself to focus on the displays. "But they're doing something else too. These power signatures suggest they're not just transporting the beast, they're scanning it, like they're trying to decode its entire genetic and neural structure." Maya's hand rested on the back of his chair, barely brushing his shoulder. To what end? "If I had to guess, they're trying to understand how it works so they can make more, better ones, without the weak spot that let me, defeat it." "You mean the weak spot you hit with trash?" Kira asked innocently. "Can we please stop bringing that up?" Maya's lips twitched. "Never. It will be in the clan histories for generations. The great Khan warrior of Earth." "Fantastic." Arthur slumped in his chair. "Just what I always wanted, to be an alien historical footnote." "You're much more than that," Maya said softly, her fingers trailing across his shoulder as she moved to examine another display. The casual touch sent shivers down his spine. Kira cleared her throat. "The Council of Matriarchs has called an emergency session regarding the theft. They're waiting for your report, Lady Maya." "Then we shouldn't keep them waiting." Maya turned to Arthur. "Come, it's time you saw how Drax 4 truly operates." "I'm not sure that's..." Arthur started to protest, but Maya had already grabbed his arm, pulling him from his chair with effortless strength. "You discovered the security breach. You should present the findings. To the Council of Matriarchs, the supreme ruling body of your entire planet." Arthur's voice cracked. "Hard pass." Maya's violet eyes sparkled with that now familiar mix of amusement and challenge. "Afraid. Terrified. Remember, we established this. Good." She started dragging him toward the door. "Fear keeps you sharp." As they left, Arthur heard Kira calling after them. "Try not to throw any trash at the matriarchs." The council chamber was a vast circular room carved directly into the crystalline mountains that overlook the capital. 7 thrones, each made from a different precious material, formed a semicircle on a raised platform. The matriarchs who occupied them made Maya look positively friendly in comparison. "The Silver Blade clan's chosen outsider believes he has found something," announced the central figure, High Matriarch Zanara, her elaborate headdress glinting in the light of floating crystal orbs. Arthur stepped forward, trying not to think about how many weapons were probably pointed at him right now. "Yes, your matriarchinesses?" "The power logs from the night of the selection combat show." "He addresses us directly?" interrupted a matriarch wearing deep crimson armor. "Without proper protocols?" "Forgive him," Maya stepped forward. "Earth customs are different." "Indeed." Zanara's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps you should explain why you brought an uninitiated outsider to this chamber at all." Maya stood straighter. Arthur discovered crucial information about the Genesis beast theft. His technical expertise. "His technical expertise," sneered another matriarch. "Or your desire to justify your unusual selection." Arthur felt Maya tense beside him. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. "Careful, Matriarch Vena." Maya's voice was deadly quiet. "Even you are not beyond the reach of challenge combat." "Ladies, ladies." Arthur stepped between them before realizing what he'd done. 7 pairs of alien eyes fixed on him with varying degrees of murderous intent. "I mean, honored matriarchs, Maybe we could focus on the stolen death monster, which is, you know, probably being copied right now." Zanara leaned forward. "Explain." Taking a deep breath, Arthur pulled out the data tablet he'd brought. The power signatures we detected weren't just for transportation. Someone was running deep scanning protocols, the kind you'd use if you wanted to understand exactly how something was built. He projected the readings into the air. "See these patterns? They're consistent with genetic sequencing and neural mapping." "Which means," prompted a matriarch in scholar's robes, "which means someone's trying to reverse engineer your Genesis beast, figure out how it works, probably to make more, and if they succeed—" He glanced at Maya. "Well, next time someone throws a drink can at it, that might not work." A murmur went through the chamber. Zanara's expression darkened. "You believe they seek to create an army of such creatures?" "More likely they want to sell the technology," Arthur said, then quickly added, "Your supreme matriarchness. Think about it. A perfectly engineered combat organism that learns and adapts? That's gotta be worth a fortune on the galactic black market." "And how would you know about galactic black markets, Earthman?" Venna demanded. "I work in cybersecurity. Well, worked, before I got accidentally engaged to a warrior princess." He winced. "Sorry, that came out wrong." To his surprise, several of the matriarchs actually chuckled. Even Zanara's stern expression softened slightly. "Perhaps," she said, "there is wisdom in unconventional perspectives. Maya, you will lead the investigation into this theft. Take your chosen one with you. His technical knowledge may prove useful." "And if they're plotting something bigger than mere theft," Maya asked, "then you have our authority to act as needed to protect the clan's interests." Zanara's gaze fixed on Arthur. "Both of you." As they left the chamber, Arthur let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "That went better than expected?" Maya smiled. "You impressed them. Not many would dare speak so directly to the council." "That wasn't bravery. That was social anxiety and caffeine withdrawal." He glanced at her. "Also, did you almost start a duel in there?" "Venna has always pushed boundaries." Maya's expression hardened. "She believes the old ways are holding us back, that we should sell our combat technologies to the highest bidders, become merchants instead of warriors." "And you think she might be involved in the theft?" "I think," Maya said carefully, "that we should start our investigation with the technology clan. They would have the expertise needed for such scanning." Arthur nodded, then frowned. "Wait, we? You're actually taking me with you?" "You heard the council." Maya's smile turned predatory. "Unless you're afraid. You really need new material for these taunts." But he was already following her down the crystalline corridor. "Also, quick question. When you say investigation, how much combat is typically involved?" "Don't worry." She patted his shoulder with enough force to make his knees buckle. "I'll protect you." "That's not actually reassuring." Maya laughed, the sound echoing off the crystal walls. "Come on, Can Warrior. We have work to do." Their investigation led them to the technology clan's main research facility, a towering structure of black crystal and pulsing energy conduits. As they approached the security checkpoint, Arthur noticed Maya's hand resting casually on her weapon. "Remember," she murmured, "let me do the talking." "Gladly. I've hit my almost causing interplanetary incidents quota for the week." The security scanner hummed as they passed through. A guard with tech clan markings eyed Arthur suspiciously. "The outsider is not cleared for council authorization," Maya cut him off, displaying a holographic seal. "He's with me." "At all times," Arthur added helpfully. "Apparently forever. It's a whole thing." The guard's expression suggested he wasn't paid enough to deal with this situation. He waved them through. Inside, the facility was a maze of laboratories and testing chambers. Researchers in silver-trimmed robes hurried past, carrying devices Arthur couldn't begin to understand. In one room, he glimpsed what looked like a miniature sun floating in containment. "Your people casually experiment with stellar physics?" he whispered to Maya. "Only on Thursday," she replied with a perfectly straight face. That was a joke. You made a joke." "I am capable of humor, Can Warrior." "Yeah, but usually it involves threatening me with combat." They reached a secure door marked with symbols Arthur's translator rendered as Genetic Engineering Division. Maya's authorization seal got them inside, where they found Kira waiting. "I tracked the power signatures," she said without preamble. "They lead to Secondary Lab 7. But, Maya prompted, "it's Vena's private research facility." Maya's expression darkened. "Of course it is. The matriarch who hates me has a secret lab?" Arthur groaned. "Because this situation needed more complications." "It gets worse." Kira brought up a holographic display. "Look at these readings from the past week. They're consistent with multiple Genesis Beast activations." Arthur studied the data. "They're running tests, probably trying different genetic combinations, seeing what works best." He pointed to a pattern. "See these energy spikes? They're getting stronger. Whatever they're making, it's bigger than the original." A distant alarm started blaring. Speaking of complications, Maya drew her weapon. "Kira?" "Security breach in Lab 7. Kira's fingers flew over the controls. "Something's broken containment. Multiple somethings." The facility's lights shifted to emergency red. A computerized voice announced, "Warning! Unauthorized genetic constructs detected. Security protocols engaged." "Please tell me that doesn't mean what I think it means," Arthur said. The wall to their left exploded inward. Through the debris emerged something that made the original Genesis beast look like a house pet. Multiple heads, crystalline armor grown directly from its skeleton, and far too many legs. "It means exactly what you think it means." Maya pushed Arthur behind her. "Stay back. Staying back. Definitely staying back." He retreated to where Kira was working frantically at a console. "Tell me you can shut these things down." "The neural control protocols aren't responding." Kira's voice was tight with concentration. "They've been completely rewritten. This isn't just a copy of the original design. It's an evolution." The beast charged. Maya met it with impossible grace, her energy blade creating arcs of light as she dodged and struck. But for every blow she landed, the creature's crystalline armor simply reformed. "They've integrated local mineral structures into the genetic template," Kira explained. "Self-repairing combat organisms." "Great." Arthur watched as Maya barely avoided a swipe from one of the creature's many limbs. "So how do we stop it?" "We don't. That's the point. They're designed to be unstoppable." Another beast crashed through a different wall, then another. Maya was now fighting 3 at once, her movements a blur of deadly precision. But even she couldn't hold them off forever. Arthur's mind raced. "The crystal structure, it's using the same material as the building, right? Drawing power from the facility itself." Kira nodded. "The integration is complete. They're literally part of the facility now." "Then maybe." Arthur dove for the console. His fingers flew over the alien controls as he accessed the power distribution systems. "If we can't shut them down directly, maybe we can crash their power source." "That would shut down the entire facility," Kira warned, "including life support. Better than being eaten by science experiments." Arthur called out to Maya, "Can you keep them busy for another minute?" "Take your time," she grunted, executing a flip over one beast while stabbing another. "I'm quite comfortable here." Arthur continued typing frantically. "Rerouting main power, inverting crystal resonance, and—" The facility's lights flickered. The beasts stumbled, their crystalline armor dulling. Then everything went dark. Emergency lights kicked in, casting the scene in eerie blue. The creatures lay motionless, their genetic enhancements no longer receiving power. Maya straightened, breathing heavily. Impressive thinking. Thanks. I'm gonna pass out now. Arthur's knees buckled, but Maya caught him before he hit the floor. Not yet, she said softly. We still need to find who's behind this. Oh, I think that's obvious, came a voice from the doorway. They turned to see matriarch Venna, flanked by armed guards, though I had hoped for a more controlled demonstration. Venna! Maya's grip tightened on her weapon. You dare betray the old ways. The old ways are holding us back. Venna gestured at the fallen beasts. Look what we can create. Why should we keep such power to ourselves when the galaxy would pay fortunes for it? Because it's wrong, Arthur suggested. Also, possibly apocalyptic. Be quiet, outsider. Your interference ends here. Venna raised her hand, and her guards aimed their weapons. Maya, stand aside. Your pet human's convenient victory over the original beast has served its purpose in testing our creation. But now, she never finished. Maya moved faster than Arthur's eyes could track, her blade finding gaps in the guards' armor before they could fire. Venna barely had time to draw her own weapon before Maya had her pinned against the wall. You used my selection combat as a weapons test. Maya's voice was deadly quiet. The council is too conservative, Venna spat. They would never approve the research officially. We needed to prove the concept's viability. And now you have proof of its failure, Maya pressed her blade closer, along with witnesses to your treason. Facility security forces began arriving, responding to the chaos. Within minutes, Venna and her conspirators were in custody. Well, Arthur said as they watched them being led away, that was exciting, also terrifying, but mostly exciting. Maya turned to him, and there was something different in her expression, something softer than her usual warrior intensity. You fought well today, she said, not with weapons, but with this. She tapped his forehead gently. Pretty sure I just hid behind you and pushed buttons. You found a solution where warriors saw only combat. Her hand moved to cup his cheek. Perhaps that is why the gods chose you for me. Arthur's heart definitely didn't skip a beat at her touch. Definitely not. Maya, The moment was interrupted by Kira clearing her throat. The council will want a full report. Right, Arthur stepped back, trying to ignore the lingering warmth of Maya's touch. Duty calls. But as they headed to the council chamber, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between them. And for the first time since this crazy adventure began, he wasn't entirely sure he wanted to find a way out of it. The aftermath of Venna's arrest threw the council into chaos. Arthur found himself spending more time in emergency sessions than he had in IT meetings back on Earth, which was saying something. But today was different. Today marked the end of the 30-day grace period for challenging the selection combat results. You could still nullify the binding, Kira reminded him as they walked through the crystalline corridors. After exposing Venna's plot, no one would question your honor. Arthur watched Maya ahead of them, speaking with other clan leaders. The way she moved, confident yet graceful, like a predator who didn't need to prove anything. When had he started finding that more fascinating than frightening? Would nullifying the binding affect the clan's standing? He asked. Technically no, but Kira hesitated. Maya's position is complicated. When isn't it? Arthur sighed. Tell me. As heir to the Silverblade clan, she's expected to continue the bloodline, but more than that, she needs a partner strong enough to help lead. The selection combat was supposed to prove she could choose wisely. Kira's expression turned serious. Your unusual victory made some question her judgment. Great. So I'm either the clan's savior or their biggest embarrassment. No pressure. You did help expose a major conspiracy by hiding behind consoles while Maya did the actual fighting. Sometimes, came Maya's voice from behind them, making Arthur jump, the greatest victories come from knowing when not to fight. How long have you been listening? Long enough. She dismissed Kira with a nod, then turned to Arthur. Walk with me? They ended up in one of the crystal gardens, beautiful structures where the native crystals grew in patterns that seemed to defy physics. Maya was quiet for a long moment, watching the light play through the formations. The deadline for challenging the selection is today, she finally said. So I've heard. About 50 times. Arthur tried to keep his tone light. Apparently, I'm very challengeable. You could still walk away. Maya's voice was unusually soft. Return to your Earth, your job, your cat. Mr. Whiskers probably thinks I'm dead by now anyway. He studied her profile. Unless, do you want me to leave? Maya turned to face him, and for the first time he saw uncertainty in those violet eyes. What I want, she started, then stopped. I have always known my path, fight, lead, protect the clan. But you, she reached out, touching his cheek. You make me question everything I thought I knew. Is that a bad thing? It's terrifying. A small smile played at her lips, and exhilarating. Arthur caught her hand before she could pull it away. You know, when I won that stupid tourism lottery, I thought the craziest thing that could happen was getting space sick. Instead, I got accidentally engaged to an alien warrior princess, fought monster clones, and helped expose a conspiracy. And the weird part? He squeezed her hand. I'm starting to think throwing that energy drink can was the best mistake I ever made. The moment was shattered by alarms blaring through the crystal garden. Red emergency lights pulsed through the crystalline structures, creating an eerie kaleidoscope effect. Warning, the automated system announced. Security breach in detention sector. Multiple prisoner escapes detected. Maya's weapon was in her hand instantly. Venna. Please tell me she's not releasing more genetic monsters, Arthur groaned. Worse. Maya's expression hardened. She has supporters in multiple clans. This could be... An explosion rocked the building. Through the garden's transparent walls, they could see smoke rising from the council chamber. A coup, Arthur finished. She's really going for it, isn't she? The council will be trapped inside. Maya was already moving. We need to... Wait! Arthur grabbed her arm. Think about it. This is too obvious. If Venna's smart enough to create hybrid monster soldiers, she's smart enough to know you'd run straight to the council. Maya paused. A distraction? What's the one thing she wants more than power? Arthur's mind raced. The research, all that genetic data from her experiments, it's still in the Tech Clan facility, under maximum security, which is probably focused on the council chamber right now. He pulled out his data tablet. Let me check the power distribution. Yeah, look. They're drawing emergency power from other sectors, including research containment. Maya's eyes narrowed. She means to recover her work while we're busy with the coup. Classic misdirection. Like when I used to make the boss think the network was down so I could install unauthorized updates. Off Maya's look, he added, That's probably not helping my case for staying, is it? A ghost of a smile crossed her face. On the contrary, you continue to prove your worth in unexpected ways. She activated her comm unit. This is Maya Tempest. All available warriors to the council chamber. Containment protocols in effect. And us? We're going hunting. She grabbed his hand. Think you can get us into the tech facility without being noticed? Probably. But shouldn't you be protecting the council? My warriors can handle that. Her grip tightened. I need you with me. Arthur's heart definitely didn't skip at those words. Lead the way, princess. They moved through back corridors and maintenance tunnels, avoiding the chaos erupting throughout the complex. Arthur used his tablet to track power fluctuations, leading them toward the research sector. 2 guards ahead, Maya whispered, armed with sonic disruptors. Vena's people? The markings on their armor, they're from the Stone Claw clan, known for their mercenary tendencies. Good to know they're space mercenaries, Arthur muttered. That definitely makes this less terrifying. Maya's blade hummed to life. Stay here. Wait. Arthur pointed to a maintenance panel. These tunnels all use the same crystal technology as the research labs, right? Drawing power from the main grid? Yes. Then maybe. He accessed the panel, fingers flying over the controls. If I reverse the power flow like we did with the monster clones. The crystals in the corridor suddenly pulsed with blinding light. The guards shouted in surprise, their vision overwhelmed by the crystalline flashbang. Before they could recover, Maya was on them, her strikes precise and non-lethal. Impressive, she said as the guards slumped unconscious. Basic AT principle. Always check for system vulnerabilities. He stepped over the fallen mercenaries. Also, I may have picked up a few things watching you fight. Perhaps there's hope for you yet, Can Warrior. They reached the main research lab to find Vena already there, accompanied by more Stone Claw mercenaries. They were downloading data from the central computers while others packed up physical samples. We need to stop that download, Arthur whispered. Once that data gets out, then Drax 4's most dangerous weapons could be sold to the highest bidder. Maya's expression was grim. Ideas? Arthur studied the scene. Maybe, but you're not going to like it. When do I ever? Fair point. He took a deep breath. Remember how we first met, with the whole throwing trash thing? Maya's eyes narrowed. What are you planning? Something stupid. He handed her his tablet. When I give the signal, trigger an emergency containment lockdown. That should trap the data in the system. And what will you be doing? He grinned, making a scene. Before she could stop him, Arthur stepped into view. Hey, Matriarch Grumpy, remember me? The annoying Earth guy who ruined your weapons test? The mercenaries spun, weapons raised. Vena's eyes blazed with fury. You! Quick question. Do your new monster soldiers have the same weak spot as the original? You know, the one that got taken down by an energy drink can? Because I've got to say, that's some pretty shoddy quality control. Kill him, Vena commanded. The mercenaries opened fire. Arthur dove behind a console, already regretting every life choice that led to this moment. Now would be good, he shouted. The lab's emergency systems activated. Blast doors slammed shut. Containment fields sprang up around sensitive areas. Most importantly, the data terminal shut down mid-transfer. No! Vena rushed to the nearest console. The download is locked behind about 50 levels of security, Arthur called out. I assume. That's what I would have done. Maya chose that moment to make her entrance, dropping from above into the midst of the mercenaries. What followed was a display of combat that made their previous fights look like warm-ups. You know, Arthur commented to no one in particular as he watched her take down 3 armed warriors simultaneously, I really should be more scared by how attractive I find this. The last mercenary fell, leaving only Vena. The former matriarch backed away, her aristocratic composure finally cracking. It's over, Maya said, leveling her blade. Is it? Vena laughed, the sound brittle. You think stopping me changes anything? The old ways are dying, Maya. The clans grow restless. They see the wealth other worlds have gained through technology, through trade. How long before another takes up my cause? Maybe she's right, Arthur said, stepping out from his hiding spot. Not about the whole selling monster weapons thing. That's definitely wrong. but about change. Both women turned to look at him. Maya's expression was unreadable. The clans survived this long because they adapted, he continued. You've got this amazing technology, these incredible traditions. Why does it have to be one or the other? What are you suggesting? Maya asked softly. Look at what we just did. Your combat skills, my tech knowledge. Apart, neither of us could have stopped this. Together. He shrugged. Maybe that's what Drax 4 needs. Not to abandon tradition, but to evolve it. A slow smile spread across Maya's face. The wisdom of the Can warrior. If you're quite finished, Vena snarled, drawing a hidden weapon. She never got to fire it. Maya moved like lightning, disarming her with one strike and pinning her with another. Take her to the council, Maya ordered as security forces finally arrived. The real council, not her conspirators. As Vena was led away, Maya turned to Arthur. You're staying, aren't you? What gave it away? The speech about evolution and tradition. She stepped closer, very diplomatic. Well, I figured if I'm going to be the first human member of a Draxian clan, I should practice. Her hand found his cheek, and this time he didn't flinch. Are you sure? This world, it won't be easy. Easy is overrated. He covered her hand with his. Besides, someone needs to teach your people about cybersecurity and Earth jokes. Definitely Earth jokes. The ceremony that followed was unlike anything in Earth's history. Traditional Draxian marriage rites merged with Earth customs in ways that probably violated several laws of cultural anthropology. Arthur's vows were in broken Draxian, Maya's in equally awkward English. Someone, probably Kira, had programmed the Crystal Gardens to display a light show synchronized to both Here Comes the Bride and Ancient Warrior ballads. The council chambers, fully repaired after the coup attempt, hosted the celebration. Arthur found himself surrounded by clan leaders who, just weeks ago, had looked at him like an irritating bug. The council has reached a decision, High Matriarch Zanara announced during the feast. In light of recent events and the proven value of unconventional perspectives, we are creating a new position. Arthur Jade, you will serve as advisor on technological integration and off-world relations. I'm sorry, Arthur nearly choked on his drink. What? Did you think we'd let the hero who saved our world from civil war just lounge around? Maya teased. I threw a can and hid behind computers. Precisely. Zanara's eyes twinkled. Sometimes the greatest victories come from knowing when not to fight. You're never going to let me live down the can thing, are you? Never, Maya confirmed, pulling him close. It will be in our children's history lessons. Children? Already? Shouldn't we discuss? She silenced him with a kiss that made several elder council members clear their throats disapprovingly. Epilogue. 1 year later. The view from their quarters in the Silverblade clan's fortress was spectacular. Twin moons cast purple shadows through the crystal spires of the city. Arthur sat at his workstation, finalizing plans for integrating Earth-style digital security with Draxian crystal tech. Maya entered, still in her training gear. The new combat programs are working well. The younger warriors especially appreciate the video game element. See? I told you gamification would help. He grinned. Next up, PowerPoint presentations for the council. Don't push your luck. She moved behind him, running her fingers through his hair. The Stone Claw delegation arrives tomorrow. Ready to help negotiate your first interclan treaty? As ready as I'll ever be. He leaned back into her touch. Think they'll take me seriously? You helped prevent a civil war, modernized our security systems, and married the deadliest warrior on Drax 4. She bent down to kiss him. I think you'll manage. When you put it like that. He pulled her onto his lap, work forgotten. Hey, Maya. Ma'am? I'm really glad I won that stupid tourism lottery. She laughed, the sound echoing through their crystal home. Outside, the city glowed with the light of tradition and progress intertwined, while somewhere in the archives, the legend of the Can warrior grew ever more elaborate with each telling. Dear listener, if you've made it this far without throwing an energy drink can at your reading device, congratulations. Unlike Arthur, you probably won't end up accidentally married to a warrior princess from an alien civilization, though I can't make any promises about that. This story started as a simple question. What if the classic chosen one trope literally began with throwing trash? Sometimes the greatest adventures in life start with the smallest, most ridiculous accidents. And sometimes the most meaningful connections form when we're busy trying to find the nearest recycling bin. Whether you're an IT specialist dreaming of the stars, a warrior bound by tradition seeking change, or just someone who enjoys tales of accidental heroism and cross-cultural romance, I hope this story reminded you that love, like a well-thrown energy drink can, often finds its target in the most unexpected ways. And remember, if you ever find yourself on Drax 4, please dispose of your beverages responsibly. You never know when you might accidentally save the world. May your code be bug-free and your combat challenges honorable. The author. P.S. Mr. Whiskers eventually forgave Arthur. Mostly.